Coventry University, the good, the bad and the ugly. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So if you didn't know, my name is Yarik and I've recently graduated Coventry University. I studied civil engineering there and I got a first. Hashtag flex. Today, I'm going to give a bit of food for thought on my experience of being at Coventry University, talk about like all different aspects of it, and you know what, if you're making up your mind whether to go there, here's the video for it. To keep in mind, take everything I say with a pinch of salt because my experience is very subjective. So for example, two people might go into the same university, doing the same course, but have completely different experiences of the thing. So just to keep in mind. Firstly, we have the education and the course itself. As I did civil engineering, we had quite big lectures, so normally had like anywhere between 100 plus people in the lecture halls, and then we had smaller kind of groups for tutorials and lab work. Different courses have different amounts. For example, I know architecture, they have about like 20 to 30 people per year, and I know some courses like psychology, we have like a really big class. In terms of teachers, some are really good, some not so much, and some are just fucking awful. Some teachers, some lecturers, they are incredibly helpful. They always try and help out, provide like further resources, try and help you understand certain things. They'll explain really well. But I know other teachers, as soon as they leave the lecture hall, they'll never reply to emails, and they'll definitely make sure to let you know that it's your fault for not understanding anything. So look at the slides 40 times before asking me. Again, throughout the years, we were quite lucky with some of the teachers. So for example, during third year for geotechnics, I had a guy called Panos and a guy called Shervin. Again, these guys are complete legends, so they always went above and beyond in terms of explaining different things, trying to, I guess, help you understand like what's going on. Oh yeah, and then especially I had geotech like tutorials first semester of my final year around 7-8 p.m. So yeah, you can imagine English winter, just completely miserable. A lot of the time it's raining, really dark. It's just not nice at all. So I'd go there with one of my housemates, Matt. He also did civil engineering, and yeah, I guess Shervin and Panos like kind of made the whole thing like a lot better. I know at that point of time I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do like further on after civil engineering. So they were incredibly helpful. They talked about their experience with university and work, etc., and kind of like providing different paths and directions we wanted to go to. So one thing to keep in mind for this university, so in terms of actual like semester breakdown, so you have 11 weeks of study, and then you have about 3 to 4 weeks of just exam time, and then you have obviously 2 semesters each year. So altogether, you end up studying from about mid-September, early October to beginning of April, which altogether, minus the actual like Christmas break, which is around a month, is about like 5 to 6 months of actually studying. So in terms of time spent in university is not a lot. It can either be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your preference really. So you can do stuff outside, like whether it's apply for placements, work experience, etc., or you've got like another side project which you're trying to work on, maybe a YouTube channel or something like that. So that means you have a lot more time outside it to focus on that. But on the other side, again, you are paying the same amount as every other uni, and I guess you're not having the same kind of quiet university experience, which again, some people be like a deal breaker, but for others, it's not a big deal. So it's personal preference, really. One of the cool things what the university did is a thing called no hidden extras, which is basically when you go into university, all your kind of extra stuff will be provided. In terms of civil engineering, this meant safety boots, then overalls, hard hat, bunch of drawing stuff, and then like a bunch of other stuff. And like on other courses, for example, the media lot, they end up getting MacBooks, and then the architecture guys got a lot of drawing stuff. We got loads of like textbooks and random stuff like that. Again, some universities kind of expect you to buy your own stuff, so what Coventry did really well is this. But the little thing is, some of the textbooks were provided, at least for me, I never used, and like I didn't feel like I had to use, but just slightly irrelevant. Also, next thing Coventry invested quite well is the Advantage module. So this is just a 10 credit extra module which you kind of have to pass the year, and it could be anything. So anything from Photoshop to negotiation classes to languages. Okay, now moving on to the registry. Whatever I say might not happen to you, but it's just something to keep in mind. To know, I didn't really have this problem, but I know some of my friends did who didn't pass a certain module. And when it comes to dealing with the registry and then all the kind of stuff to do with that, it can be a bit of a nightmare. If you fail the module, then sometimes to resit it, during summer, you normally have like a couple of weeks for them to mark it before next semester start. So if you need this module to pass the year, it could be a bit problematic there. So if you don't actually pass them, you have to redo the year or redo this module. Again, this could become a really big problem when you resit the whole thing during summer. Sometimes you don't actually get the grades back in time, so you have an overlap period of like 2 to 3 weeks into the next year's first semester, and then you can't actually go to the classes. Well, they weren't allowed to go to the classes, and then so they've started the whole year behind, which was just fucking dumb, really. All this happened during lockdown and the whole when C word was happening, so I can't really comment on what it was like before lockdown or after, but during that, this is what I guess a few of my friends experienced. I know some people, yeah, it could be problematic, especially if, for example, you're European students or like you are, where you actually have to pay for all this money, so having to stay back for a year become like very expensive very quickly. So what I'm trying to say is, for this not to become a problem, try your best to at least get 40% in like your main modules. Okay, the following section. So extracurricular activities, societies, and I guess social life. And firstly, in terms of societies, yeah, basically there's all sorts of societies, from like investing, photography, to all your course ones like civil engineering, architecture, economics. Then there's like language exchange ones. Then there's just like kind of all sorts of things. And there's also, obviously, there's like sports club as well. So everything from like football, rugby, American football. And then there's like martial art one, like Kung Fu, Wing Chun, karate. Like there's all sorts of stuff. But since the whole, I guess, lockdown of the C word happened, because all the societies and sports club are run by students, so a lot of them had to be shut down because there's just not enough people, which is just a bit unfortunate. The whole cool thing is, like, if you got a society in mind and you got like enough people, I think it's just 5 people, 10 people, something along those lines. It's very easy to put society together, which is great. Coventry University offer loads of kind of different trips across Europe for different societies, I guess courses, etc. Complete discounted prices. So I remember just before lockdown happened, I ended up going to Prague with the Photography Society, and end up costing me just basically nothing. So basically all the flights and accommodation, some of the activities were covered, and everything else obviously I had to pay for. But altogether, I remember that trip ended up costing me like £300, and that was like 5 days maybe. So yeah, it was just like absolutely sick. So I think Coventry University provides funding for, I think, either 1 or 2 of these international trips, which is quite cool. Also, during the second year, I actually ended up going to like 5 societies per week, and meanwhile going out, meanwhile going to the gym, etc. So I'm making another video about it, but like, yeah, there's definitely loads of stuff to do. Okay, next section is help and further opportunities. In terms of course support, there's definitely enough help from, I guess, Sigma Lab, which provides math support. Then there's also like writing help. Then if you have dyslexia, then there's like all sorts of other support. And then if you're an international student, pretty sure there's extra classes to, I guess, improve your English further, help you with writing and things along those lines. So it's definitely enough help. But the main thing here is obviously, like, it's not going to come to you. You're going to actually reach out and search for it. But yeah, there's definitely enough of like everything to go around. But one of the best things you can do in terms of actually getting better grades and doing better, I guess, in your course is definitely making friends with people in your course. So in my case, I ended up becoming really good friends with a guy called Matt, who I ended up living with final year of uni, and then this girl called Marissa. So I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for them, I definitely would have got like as good of a grade as I did. Basically what I'm trying to say, just find yourself like a just little group of friends who you kind of do like all the coursework together, like all the preparation just makes, I guess, the whole experience better instead of you doing everything alone. And plus, like, your grade will improve because there's certain things you just, I guess, forget to note. Some lecturer said about coursework deadline or about like certain thing happening, you'll just probably completely forget. In terms of further opportunities of getting help to get into workplace, so like things like placement, graduate roles, etc. And there's a thing called future teams, I'm pretty sure it's called, talent teams even. They got like a few people there, so it will help you from finding like a different course you wanted to do, to getting like a placement role, to getting like a graduate job. During the second year, I ended up getting like loads of help with my CV and with my cover letter, and actually ended up getting a job at Mercedes in Formula One, doing like project management, building facilities, which again, if I tried to do that alone, probably I wouldn't have got it. Again, it's like one of those things where you kind of actively have to do it. You're not just gonna get it fed to you. You can't have to go out there and book a time slot, do the work yourself. So it's completely different to, I guess, A-levels and I guess secondary school, where you're more or less forced to, you're taught exactly what to do. Now with this, there's so much more to do, but again, you have to actually pick it out and do it yourself. Next section, living in Coventry. So I'm going to start with the good and then progress to the not so good parts. Okay, so the first thing, everything is close by. So I can literally go from the gym, I can go to the university, I can go to the place I'm staying, the accommodation halls in like under 10-20 minutes really. Has an incredibly good range of gyms. So we've got two pure gyms, the guy JD gym, and then we've got, there's a gym on Far Gospel Street, what is it called? Future Fitness. And then if you wanted to go, there's a David Lloyd's club, it's just outside of Coventry, and then there's a bunch of other gyms just dotted around the place, which are really good. Also in terms of the location of Coventry is incredibly good, literally right in the middle of UK. So it's quite easy to go to Birmingham, and it's quite easy to go to London. It's like around an hour, maybe even less. Then from Birmingham you can go up north, you can go like all sorts of places, so that's really good. And especially cool if you got a car, because you can go south, you can go north, you can go east, you can go west, you can go... Yeah, good one, Yarrick. Also in terms of student accommodations, they're incredibly nice. Like every year there's like 2-3 new accommodations coming up, and there is just an incredible range of them. Some of the accommodations got a gym in it, some got like all sorts of other stuff, so again, like you got a big range to choose from. In terms of living costs are quite low. So for example, if you're renting a house with your mateys, you probably could end up paying like 400, 500, maybe 600 if you like some like really luxury one. But yeah, that's really cheap, and it's the food's cheap. So what I'm saying is everything is relatively cheap compared to the whole of the UK. So it's not London prices, this is like general Midlands prices. In terms of people going to Coventry, it's just incredibly diverse lot. So I met people from Portugal, Italy, Spain, France, Russia. Then I talk about this for the next like 5 minutes. So basically a lot of people from all different places. Coventry will like self-promote that they're the #1 university go to for European students or something along those lines. Yeah, I feel like every university got this thing which they're like #1 at, and then they promote it everywhere. And just for Coventry, it was the #1 university for like European students, or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly. Now, moving on to the not so good parts. It's Coventry Uni it's a uni city. So if it's outside of school term, the university term is empty basically. So if that concerns you, it might not be like the best place to go to. If you decide to drive in the city, you're not really used to it, it is very hectic. So Coventry have these ring roads, which is a complete nightmare to drive. So if you're not experienced driving in like absolute chaos, don't drive during rush hour, like especially because it's going to be absolutely awful. Okay, one of the things, don't go to Hillfields at night especially, and especially if you're wearing like really expensive stuff. So from first year of uni, one of my mateys, he ended up having like quite expensive like camera gear with him because we're doing a project for his course, and eventually on the way he ended up getting mugged there. Basically all this stuff got taken from him. And yeah, there's also like some stuff like certain areas of Coventry, yeah, probably definitely don't go there at night, especially with like expensive gear, or just if you look like well off, definitely gonna get robbed. Okay, now for the nightlife. So Coventry is actually semi-decent when it comes to it. Okay, in comparisons to the whole of the UK, obviously it's not as good as, for example, like London, like Manchester, maybe like Leeds and stuff, but it's not awful. So there's a lot of like clubs around, so the biggest one probably is Casbah, then there's JJ's, and there's the Empire, which recently just moved to the centre of the city. Then there is Catch 22, and then all of them are quite good. My favourite and one I went to the most for my Macy's is Casbah. Like we got like a quite nice just outside area, and then we got like I think 4 rooms. As Coventry's in the middle of England, it's quite easy for you just to go like all sorts of places. Firstly, there's Warwick literally right next to you, so you can go to Leamington. There's a place which I went to a couple of times called Assembly or something along those lines, and they host like loads of random events. I went to some sort of, I think it was drum and bass event or some like techno event during second year. There's also like random bars there, etc. Also Birmingham, where there's Prism, then there's Lab 11 if you're really into techno music. We also do all sorts of different events. Also London is really relatively close, so if you wanted to, you can just take a train down to London and then whether stay there or go back to Coventry in the morning. So there's definitely places to go. Okay, so altogether, do I think Coventry's the best university? Yeah, probably not. Okay, I'll take that statement back. Again, for certain courses, Coventry University is ranked really highly, but other courses, not so much. I feel like it's the same with kind of every university. Obviously, it's not Oxbridge or anything like that, but it's not really about the university itself. It's just about the experience you have there and all the people you meet along the way and guests you share this experience with. And in terms of that, is what you make of it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you want to see another one of my videos, maybe about my Gossip 2022, I'll link it somewhere down here.